After you solve the Frosty Keypad challenge, you'll gain access to the dormitory. So you can go in, and if you go a little bit down the hallway, you'll see Minty Candy Cane standing next to another cranberry pie. This one is the Holiday Hack Trail. So it's it's an homage to, the old Oregon Trail. There's three difficulty settings. Um, it says the goal is to get there before the 25th day of December, before Christmas. Hitch up your reindeer, gather your supplies, and do the best to make it to the North Pole on time. There's three difficulty settings. There are three difficulty settings. Easy, you can start with 5,000 money on July 1st. Uh, Medium, start with 3,000 money on the 1st of August, so you lose a month. And then you could lose another month by doing it on hard, and you get even less money. So I'll go through all of them. We'll start with easy, but we're gonna inspect element here because I don't like working in this little terminal. It's really cool and all, but I want to be able to run it through Burp Suite. Um, it's just a web application testing software. It's kind of like Zap. I just prefer Burp because I've been using it for years and years, and I'm just real comfortable with it. But anyway, we'll grab the source of the iframe, and we'll just open that in a new tab. And here we can actually work on it in its own tab. So I'm actually going to grab that. It's important to grab this because it'll have your player ID, and that way it'll solve for you. It'll be associated with your actual user in here, and when you get through it, it'll trigger the correct stuff to show that you actually did solve it. But I have Burp already installed. You can get it from Portswigger. Just the community edition is free. It doesn't let you save profiles or projects, but I don't really need any of that. So we're just going to go ahead and start Burp, use the defaults. They're pretty good. What we're interested in for now is the proxy. We're going to make sure intercept is off. If you leave intercept on, it'll actually capture all the requests and show them to you so that you can manipulate them before they actually are sent off to the internet. We're going to go to our options and make sure that it is running, which it is. And we can see that it's running on localhost port 8080. And I already have Firefox. Actually, uh, most of my hosts, I keep Firefox set up to only run with Burp, and I just use Firefox as my web app pen testing or auditing browser. A couple things to get this set up, since I already have it set up. A couple gotchas if you haven't worked with this before. You'll want to export your CA certificate, or in Firefox you can just go to http colon in your backslashes and just go to burp, and it'll actually go there. If it doesn't, that means you probably don't have your proxy settings set up properly, so you'll want to go to preferences, and you'll want to go to your network settings in Firefox and go to settings, and you'll set manual proxy configuration. You'll set it to localhost 127.0.0.1, set port 8080, and you'll want to use this proxy server for all protocols, and that way it'll catch HTTP as well as HTTPS or anything else really. So you set OK. Um, Once your Firefox is using the right proxy settings, you can go to this burp URL, and click on CA certificate. It'll have you download it. You can save it, and then in Firefox, you'll want to go to Preferences, Privacy and Security. It'll vary depending on your version. Hopefully, you're running something recent enough that it's similar. And you'll want to go to Certificates, View Certificates, and on the Authorities tab, you can find that certificate, and it'll give you a checkbox or a couple of checkboxes for what permissions you'll give that burp certificate. One of them is to verify HTTPS requests, like SSL, and the other one is for verifying mail. And I usually just check all the boxes, and then whenever I'm done, I'll remove the certificate. But for now, we're leaving it in. And we're going to paste in that URL we already were looking at. And it goes just fine. And if you go to burp and HTTP history, you can see that it's capturing traffic. And you can see trail.elfview.org. Now we're actually going to remove, just for the sake of keeping it clean, I'm going to delete the selected items. Basically select and delete everything that isn't trail.elfview.org. And I'm actually going to add to scope trail.elfview.org. And burp, and that's just to limit our scope so that you're not getting all of the background noise from Firefox doing checking for DNS poisoning or checking Pocket CDN or anything like that. That way we're just getting what we want. And answering yes will avoid accumulating project data for out of scope. We want yes. If you go to target, sitemap, you can see what is in scope versus not. If you go to scope, you can see you can change this. So actually, I'm going to edit this so that we don't get specifically the game select. I just want to see everything from trail.elfview.org. And there we go. That way, any other subdirectories or different pages will still get them. So we'll go back to proxy, HTTP history. Everything looks good still. You can do all sorts of different filtering if you don't want to see like this TrueType font or this WAF font, but I'm fine with having those for now. In burp, you can see the request as it was sent. This is exactly what I pasted in. You can see our user agent and everything. You can see the response, including the headers. You can see this cookie that was created for me, set cookie. And you actually can see the page. And if you go and look at view page source, it looks the same. You can see that this here looks like what you're seeing in burp. So we're going to close that out. Maybe make this a little bigger so we can see it easily. Maybe not that big. Oh. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And I'm going to take you through them all. We're going to start with easy. So you select easy. It takes you to the store here. You can see in burp the relevant request. You can see we're at the purchase supplies page. You can see it's logging to the console, some of this JavaScript, and we don't really care too much about that, but if you want to look at it, you can see where it's, here it is. So just like in Oregon Trail, you get to purchase some supplies at the beginning. Here you cannot edit the 5,000, you can't edit the 0, you can't edit, all you can edit is the amount of stuff you want to buy. So we have 5,000 money. Reindeer cost 500. Probably get 5. That's half our money. We could get 10, but it says the more reindeer you have, the faster you can get to the North Pole. So that's, we want to get as many reindeer as we can. Spare runners can be handy as your sleigh can't move if you don't have two working ones. And I think it's talking about like the treads under the sleigh, those curly things. Those are the runners. We start with 2, so maybe we'll get one spare one. That seems like a good idea. In case one breaks. Food, probably should have some food. Um, you know, we'll just pick 2 of those, or 10 of those. Meds, yeah, it seems like we have 20. That should be all right. Hopefully no one gets sick. Ammo, whatever. We would get a few more reindeer. Oh, looks like we have negative money remaining. We'll just change this to 9. There we go. We're pretty close. And when you go to the next page, it'll show you kind of a similar page to Oregon Trail. Distance remaining is 8,000. We're on day 1. It's July. Difficulty is easy. Our pace, you can set it just like in Oregon Trail. I'm guessing depending on your pace, there's more risk. In an old Oregon Trail, if you put it to grueling pace, more stuff was likely to break, like probably the runners. We'll keep it steady for now. I'm more interested in seeing what this looks like. So here we can see there's like a URL bar. We have 250 money. You have options. You can use meds. You can hunt if you're running low on food, but it'll cost you ammo. You can trade or you can just go. We'll just go. We can see this has changed. Our distance now is 36. Before it was 0, so we've gone 36. And all of the options are here in this URL bar. If you look in Burp, you can see a request to go. It just sends all of this. It sends your pace, which is 0. I'm guessing if you change it to 1, it's strenuous. 2 is grueling. You have your player ID, which is good. We want to leave that alone. Action, go. There you go. Difficulty is 0. Money is 250. Our distance, that's our prior request. So I wonder what would happen if we change these get parameters to something like 5,000 and hit go. We can see now that our money was updated to reflect the change. It looks like they don't have really any security in place. It's just URL get parameters. Pace, current month, current day as reindeer, the number of runners we have. Could probably change our reindeer to something like 200. Could change our number of runners to, let's just say 10. Let's change our ammo to 1,000. Let's just see how it goes. And look, everything is updated to reflect what we did. We now have 200 reindeer. Now we can go much faster. Yep, gives you some hints here. We have quite a bit of food. But I wonder if we can change the distance remaining, or the distance we went. If we add 79, 24, and 76, it adds up to 8,000. Let's just see if we change this to 8,000. And sure enough, we have 0 distance remaining. And if we hit go, we finish. So it looks like you could change the URL parameters to anything you want, and it'll reflect it. And here we go. Herbert is joyful. Everyone's happy. We succeeded. We solved it. Here's the verification hash. We get a score based on how much of everything we had left, how many days we had before Christmas. Um, if we wanted to, we could go back and play again and go for the max score. So since we can manipulate everything we want, doesn't really matter. We'll just pick 10 reindeer here, use up all of our money. We could just edit it later here in the URL bar. We change our money to, let's see if we could change it to 99,999. Just go. Oh, but it gives us an error. Your URL status values look incorrect. You have fallen off the trail. It didn't like that. I'm guessing it was too high. We'll go try it again. We can brute force it. Kind of figure out what the maximums are. Let's change our money to take 1,900 off. Oh, look, we can have that much money. Let's try 10,000. Try to find out where the limit is. Oh, that works. Let's try 50,000. Oh, it likes that just fine. Let's try 75,000. Oh, doesn't like that. We can just hit back and edit it again. Let's try 60. We'll go in the middle. Oh, that's fine. This is starting to remind me of a number that makes a lot of sense. Let's try that. Oh, it likes that. Let's try incrementing it by 1, and we hit that error. So now we found the max amount of money you can have, and it's 65535. Just top number of ports that you can have. Let's set paste 2. I bet if we set it here, yeah, it's fine. Let's set, well, let's set it to the day of Christmas. We'll set current month to 12. We'll set current day to 25. And when we go, since it progresses a day, it'll say that we actually are on 12/26. So let's see if that works. It should. Let's set our max reindeer to 200, and we'll just change a lot of parameters, so we'll just hit enter. And it looks like everything has been fine so far. Let's try 201 reindeer. Looks like that's fine. Let's change the number of reindeer to something more, like 500. Oh, it didn't like that. We'll try 250, cut it in half. Seems to take that just fine. Let's try 256. Oh, it didn't like that. Let's try 255 maybe. Oh, looks like that's our max for reindeer. So I won't go through it all, but there are maximums for everything, and that'll affect your score. So you can figure out the maximum for everything and set it to that. So there we go. Oh, nope, didn't like that. But let's see. We'll change that to 65535. Oh, runners should be less probably. We'll set that to 2000. Oh, didn't like that either. 200. 200 seems to work fine. Set this to 250 since there was another number that matched. But essentially you can brute force through all of it. I happen to keep the maximum values in my notes, and I'll be sure to include them in the write-up. But for now, you get the point. You can manipulate everything through the URL bar, and we can actually set our distance to 8,000 here. Hit go. Oh, whoops. Set our distance to 8,000 and hit go over here. And then we hit go and we finish. So pretty easy to manipulate and cheat on easy mode. So we'll check out medium mode and see what's changed. We'll go ahead. Oh, we could probably do 5 here. Or 6, I guess. Yeah, 6 will work. That'll use up all of our money. We'll hit buy. And this time, we don't have anything in the URL bar. So they probably changed from get to post. And if we go check burp, we can see that's what they did. Sure enough, we can see a post request. Difficulty is medium, player ID, Jebediah Springfield, trail. It looks like it lost our player ID. So we're going to go back in here and repaste that original player ID here. Do it on medium just so it carries through. We can see that in burp, it did post our correct player ID. So the cool thing about burp is we don't actually have to do it that way. We can send to repeater. If, like in this case, if we wanted to change something, we could actually right click and send to repeater. You see it lights up over here. You can go here and you can actually edit this player ID. And change it to the one that we know, which is this. You can paste it in there and send the request. And sure enough, it updates it properly here. So we'll go back to our proxy tab. Just look at our, we'll go ahead and highlight this in burp just so we can keep track of it, that was a success. We got through it. Holiday hack prevail. We'll go through and we're going to do it on medium now. So do it on medium. We're going to go back and select our 6 reindeer. There we go. Now we have a total of 8 reindeer. And we cannot edit through the URL bar anymore. But with burp, you can see that in the post request, in the post body, all the same information is there as there was. Whoop, let's go back. It's just not in the URL anymore. So you can still edit it this way. If you go to intercept and turn it to on and go here, you can actually, let's just hit go. You'll see that burp intercepts the request, and before it sends it on, it allows you to manipulate it. So you can here go ahead and set your money to 99999 if you want. You can set the distance to 7,900 or whatever you want, or 7,999, and you can forward the request on and turn intercept off if you want. If you go look in the HTTP history, you can see the post request. You can see the original request as well as the edited request. And you can see in the original request, it's just action go. Our money was 0. We can see our health was 100 for each person. You can see, the distance you had to go or you had gone was 0. And you can see in the edited request, we changed our money to 999, our distance to 7,999, and that's it. And if you go forward, you can see that we actually won. When you go check back, sure enough, we won. And just like in the prior one, if you brute force through all the maximums of all the number of items you can have, the number of money you can have, and you manipulate the date, since that is factored into your score, how many days before Christmas you got there, you can get the maximum score as well. So that one wasn't much harder using a tool like Burp Suite. So we'll go ahead and highlight that one green as well in case we want to reference it in the future. And we're going to go ahead and play again. Oh, we're getting a 502, so the server will try again. Oh, look, it's good. All right, so this time we're going to try it on hard difficulty. We only get 1,500 money, and we start on September 1st rather than July 1st, so we have same distance to go, far less time. We're just going to grab 3 reindeer here. That'll use up all of our money. Doesn't really matter since we're going to hack the game and cheat anyway. So if we go look in Burp Suite, we can look at the request. We can see that it looks pretty much all the same as before. We have 3 reindeer. It has our number of runners, our food, everything. Oh, looks like I lost my player ID again, so I'm actually going to paste in. Whoops. Oh, I'm just going to grab that URL again. Paste that back into here just so it keeps our state and it'll pass it like our success. Whoop. Oh, that's right. Grabbed it out of inspect. Okay, there we go. It has our correct player ID. And we can go ahead and select hard, go back and pick our reindeer again. All right. Now let's go check it out in Burp. Okay. So, yeah, like I mentioned, looks the same as before, except there's one thing different. Here, we have a hash value. That is something we don't know at this point how it's generated. So, if we try to manipulate any of this, we'll do a demonstration. We'll go set intercept to on. That way we pick up the request. And we'll go just hit go to see what happens. And here we see the request is intercepted. That's just our player ID. We'll go ahead and forward that. And here's the request. So here, just like before, if we try to manipulate it, we'll probably fail because a hash is being taken as a security measure. And we don't know at this point how that hash is taken. But just for the sake of demonstration, let's try changing our money to 9999 like before. We'll forward that request and stop intercepting. And let's go check. And right away, the game knows that something is not right. And it says bad hash. You have fallen off the trail. So the game has picked up that we're trying to cheat. So we have to figure out how it's generating that hash. We can try looking at the source. Oh, we'll go back. There aren't exactly any immediate ways to see how the hash is being generated. This is probably because the hash is being generated server side because they don't trust us, because they know that it's very easy to manipulate things client side. That's the whole point of the hash. Um, Now, luckily, in the videos that were given as a hint for the con, if you click on your badge and you look at the talks or the hints, there's a web app pen testing hint from Minty Candy Cane. And web apps a trailhead is one of the talks. If you open it up, you can see that there's a talk by Chris Elgi. And I actually watched the video, and when I was watching it, I paid close attention, and I noticed that in the video he showed some of the code, and you could see that on the server side there is a script with a hash status function, and you can see that there's a try except try catch with the hash value equaling the status of money plus the status of distance plus the status of day and month. And you can see that all it's doing is it's adding those up. And then it's running an MD5 over the string of that number, the total hash value. And all it is it's adding all of that together. So we can kind of look back and put together, even though this video doesn't show the full script or code, you can surmise what is happening on the server side. And it's, a pretty common behavior as an anti-cheat mechanism. So we're going to see if we can break this and cheat anyway. So looking at the source code, we can see that there's a status container, and it was adding up all the statuses of certain things. It was adding up the difficulty status, money, distance, current month and day. I didn't see any mention of the health values or the names of the people being mentioned, the death month of the person or the condition, but it was adding up reindeer, runners, ammo, and that other stuff. So we're going to see if we can just figure out a correct hash and submit a fraudulent request and have the game accept it. So kind of an easier way to get visibility into this I found was by doing it through burp. If you go into your options and your response modification settings, you can unhide hidden form fields. You can prominently highlight them. You can enable disabled form fields. And I think that should be good enough for us. So we're going to go back. We're going to paste in that and start over. We can now see that our user ID is in a hidden form field in a couple of places. And now our web browser is rendering that right on the page because of burp. So it makes it a little bit easier. We can see that we have status values for things down here. Difficulty, money, distance, etc. So we're just going to go ahead and buy our 3 reindeer. And here we have our fields prominently displayed. So we can actually just open a calculator. I'm using a Fedora Mate spin. So I'll open my Mate calendar or calculator. And we're just going to add these things up. So our difficulty is 2. Our money is 0, so we don't have to add that. Distance is 0, we don't have to add that, but I guess we could change it to 8,000. So We're only going to change one thing. Or I guess to test to make sure we have the right hash to begin with, we'll just collect all the fields and add them as is, and then see if we can get the same hash. So our current month is 9. Our current day is 1. And these other fields were not included in the code excerpt that we saw, and it didn't seem like they were included, so we're just going to go ahead and add these other numbers on. We have 5 reindeer, we have 2 runners, 10 ammo, 2 meds, 100 food, and we're just going to add that. We get 131. We're going to open up a shell really quick, and using Linux, so there's a nice utility. You can just use MD5 sum. So I'm just going to echo 131 into MD5 sum. The reason I'm using bin echo with the -en flags are just to make sure that I exactly echo just the characters 131. The -e flag, I guess I don't really need, just using it out of habit. The end flag, though, makes sure not to include the new line character at the end. By default, echo will put a new line at the end. Using the -n removes that to make sure that MD5 sum is just getting the bytes that we want. And that's different. So it looks like we forgot something. All right, going back to the video, it looks like I included difficulty, and we didn't need that. We just need money, status, state. So we'll go back. And we'll subtract. We'll just do 130. Or 129. And looking back, since we subtracted the difficulty out of the sum and then MD5'd it, it looks like we get the correct hash. Starts with D1F49 and ends in CA25. We can see in our terminal that that is the correct hash. So now we know how to generate the hashes we want. So now we can cheat. So the way I see it, if we're going to cheat, we may as well do it right. We may as well get the maximum score that we can get. So I actually have all the maximums here so that we can calculate those into our hash. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that. Let's see. For money, we're going to put our maximum amount of money, which is 6,000. Put that in the calculator. We're going to add our distance of 8,000. We'll do 8,001. For our current month, we're going to do December. And our day, we're going to do 25, so that when it progresses, or we'll do 26, so that when it progresses, it'll show that we have 364 days before Christmas. Yeah, we'll do 25, because it'll add one to our date. here. And the other fields that we need to add are reindeer, runners, ammo, meds, and food. We already know our maximums here, so we're just going to add those on. We can have a max of 250 reindeer, 65535. Top port number for meds, ammo, and food. And that should do it. So we're going to send that into MD5 sum and get our correct hash. And we're going to go ahead and copy that hash. We're going to make sure that burp is intercepting, and we're going to go back and submit a request and modify it so that we win. Here we go. So for our money, we had 6,000 as a max. For reindeer, for a distance, we're going to do 8,000. Current day, we'll do 25. Current month, 12. $250 reindeer. Oh, not sure that we added that in the calculator right. We'll double check to make sure. Put that in MD5 sum. Oh, looks like it was a little bit different. And there's our hash. Put our hash at the end here. And we should be all set. We're going to go ahead and forward the request, turn intercept off, and we'll go check if we won. And we did. All of our party members survive. We have the maximum of everything, so we have the maximum score. And there's our verification hash. And that's how you beat the holiday hack trail on all difficulties.